things that we feel like we did well was design the tiny house around our lifestyle, and we just sort of looked at what we did in our everyday life before we lived in a tiny house. And pretty much most days we would get home from work and make a meal and just like hang out and watch like a movie or a TV show or something like that. So we knew that we really wanted an area to like lounge and have our dinner. So we pretty much split the house with those two things in mind. Like half of our house is a kitchen and the other half is just like this lounge area.
Obviously there's the practical elements that needed to be fit in as well. So we have our bathroom that separates the living space from the kitchen. And then of course there's a loft. And we managed to also work it so that the loft is a lot longer than a lot of the lofts in the designs that we saw that were out there. And so we comfortably can fit a king-size bed up there, which we have now, which is awesome. And even more room to spare, which is going to be used for sort of dressers and clothes storage. So there's really a full bedroom feel up there. How we approach most of the spaces is that we really wanted to get the full, as many of the features of a space that we're used to in a traditional like home setting into the tiny house.
And also axing the parts of a more traditional house or apartment that we didn't use. I don't think we ever used our dining room table. I know that's terrible to say, but we just never used it. So that was like one of the first things we knew that we would do away with in the tiny house because we just wouldn't use it. Yeah, our dining room table is a fold-up one that we pull out right here.
Yeah, we'll show a clip of it. It's kind of like a classic approach to dinner that you make your dinner and then you sit and have a conversation at the dining room table, and it's not that there's like anything wrong with that, or like we don't want to feel like pressured into being a certain way. We just actually took a hard look at what we do and what is comfortable for us, and we've tended to just bring a meal to like the TV, like watch Netflix or a movie or something.
We would often see tiny houses that didn't have any sort of lounge or TV watching area. And though they looked beautiful and like minimalist and you could imagine yourself as someone who no longer watched TV, we knew that would not be us.
Yeah, there's always seating, and there's that traditional layout of like the kitchen and the bathroom underneath the loft, and then the rest of the space being a wide open kind of all-purpose living room. So you enter into the great room, as a lot of places would refer to it, and it's always never conducive to something that would resemble like a sofa or a couch, which we'd become used to like living in apartments and houses and just general. I feel like that's something that everyone's used to. So throwing that out and not even having that as an option going into the tiny house was not something that we were willing to even consider. It was just an obvious move to plan out a dedicated lounge space, and that's where we're in right now. And I don't know how comfy we look, but it's pretty awesome and it worked out really well.
Another thing that we knew that we wanted to do differently than some other tiny houses that we'd seen was we wanted to steer away from convertible spaces, something like a bathroom that also turned into a wet room. We just didn't want to have to transform anything in it to be able to use the space. We just felt like it would be a bit of a hassle. But we do have a space in the living room, which we call the nerd station, which is like a multi-use space. And Jacob probably wants to elaborate on the nerd station.
Yeah, so we managed to make this space multifunctional without needing to be converted. Really, we're just replicating a setup that we had in a couple of our most recent apartments before making the leap to the tiny house, which is that we had a couch, and then across on the other side of the room we would have a desk or a table of some kind, and then a TV connected to my computer, so it was my computer monitor, but then of course we can play Netflix or movies just on the computer, and then if I was at the computer I'd be using it like a computer, and then take a few steps back and sit on the couch and suddenly it's like a TV room. We naturally, in the apartments, had gravitated to using less like unique spaces. We had one area that was sort of office, if you will, computer area, and TV room, living room kind of thing. So it was really a no-brainer that all we needed to do was slightly condense the footprint that took up, and it would fit in a tiny house.
We just like it into here.
For me, I spend a ton of time on my computer just in general, but for example, like editing videos for YouTube and whatnot. And so I've had these moments of thinking, oh, I'm in the tiny house now. Like after making the move in here, it was basically like this, like I said, this setup is something that we've had in other living spaces. So having it in here, it feels the same. Like it doesn't really feel like I'm in this new crazy space that I need to feel differently about or something. I just feel completely neutral, like this is not a significant change.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you like what we're doing here, and turn on email notifications so you never miss a video. You can also find extra resources in the description below.
We spend countless hours making these videos for YouTube, so if you appreciate our work, take 3 minutes to watch the video in the top left tile to learn some ways that you can support us for free.
We'd really appreciate it.